important panel for this session. We have with us today Mr. Manoj Mitta, winner of the Value Awards Book Awards 2024 for English Nonfiction. A law graduate from Hyderabad, Mr. Mitta is a Delhi-based journalist focused on law, human rights, and social justice. His research for the award-winning Caste Pride, Battles for Equality in Hindu India, was facilitated by 2 fellowships from the Washington, D.C.-based National Endowment for Democracy and Bengaluru-based New India Foundation. I welcome you, sir.
We also welcome Dr. Badri Narayan, award-winning poet, social scientist, and scholar of contemporary India, who is presently the director and the professor at G.B. Pant Institute of Social Sciences, affiliated to Allahabad University at Prayagraj, UP. Writing in English and Hindi, Dr. Narayan's works study the act of migration as a constituent factor in the formation of cultures and the process of identity making. We welcome you, sir.
We have with us Professor Surekha Dangwal, Vice Chancellor of Doon University, Dehradun.
Madrasa Education Board, where he has been instrumental in modernizing Madrasa education. His leadership reflects a commitment to integrating traditional and modern education, promoting social reforms, and fostering communal harmony. We welcome you, sir. Our moderator for the session, Mr. Yogesh Kumar, is a seasoned journalist with a career spanning over 2 decades. He has worked with the India Today Group, the Times of India, the Statesman, and DNA in various capacities in Delhi. Sir moved to Dehradun in 2014, where he is currently working on a non-fiction book. We welcome you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please have a round of applause for our esteemed panel once again? Over to you, sir.
Hello. First of all, thank you all for taking time for this beautiful evening. And discussing is one of the most hotly debated subject, that is UCC. And it's not very fashionable to have such issues, such topics in LitFest, especially when we talk about literature. And I'm very glad that Manoj sir is here, who I saw as a rookie reporter in '99 when I was with Statesman. And I saw your work all through. It's a pleasure, that you are here. You're also here for giving us perspective. And ma'am, you made university what it is today, not what it used to be long ago. So I'm sure we should not wait much for Badri, I think. My first question is to Manoj, you only, because I read your book also. It's a very exhaustive work on caste and equality and India. When we say UCC has a footprint within Constitution. To just tell us about what must have gone through in minds of our founding fathers when they had a mention of UCC in Constitution itself, right in the beginning. We're talking about 47 before, and 47 after also. Just take us through from that point when they thought it's necessary.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate the manner in which you framed it. I would love to go into the history of it. But before I go into the history of UCC, let me give a personal angle to it. When I joined journalism in mid-80s, the UCC we used to be talking about a great deal in our work was something else, Union Carbide Corporation. This was in the wake of the Bhopal gas tragedy.
Yeah.
And then soon after that, after 85, 86, after that Shah Banu judgment, we journalists started writing about another UCC, which was as contentious, as volatile, that is, Uniform Civil Code. Now, to go into the history of it from the days of Constituent Assembly, there were other provisions on which there was a lot of debate in the Constituent Assembly. For instance, say, cow slaughter. And it was originally proposed as a fundamental right. Then it was pointed out that fundamental rights can only be for human beings, not animals.
animals.
So on that basis, it was pushed to the chapter relating to directive principles of state policy, which is not justiciable, unlike fundamental rights, right? Now, similarly, when the question of Uniform Civil Code came, originally it was thought that it should be part of fundamental rights, but then, and then there were some very progressive champions for this subject within the Constituent Assembly. Hansa Mehta, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, and Meenu Masani. And I may also mention that in this progressive lot of these three members, there's also a religious diversity. Rajkumari Amrit Kaur was a Christian, notwithstanding her name, and Meenu Masani was a Parsi. So it was not just Hindus who were trying to get this consecrated as a fundamental right at that stage, right? And now when it comes to Ambedkar, he did respond to it, but he was not so categorical about it, in the sense that he said, in principle, I have no objection to Uniform Civil Code, but to begin with, it should be on a voluntary basis. So what he meant was, what he envisaged was a situation in which both Uniform Civil Code and personal laws would coexist. And it is up to individual. If you choose to marry under the Uniform Civil Code, then you will be, for the rest of your life, bound by the laws pertaining to uniform civil. This Article 44, which is in the Directive Principles. And now come to this, the next occasion on which it really became a very hotly contested issue was in the context of Shah Banu case. And then after that, I mean, that's all familiar history, so I won't go into it. But I'd like to dwell a little on how Uttarakhand got the distinction.
Yeah.
Or
I was coming to Uttarakhand only because
Yeah.
now we are in a state which is, which will be first to have it after Goa.
Yeah, so shall I dwell briefly on it?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you want-
please do. Then because we could take over others
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah. So what I want us to bear in mind is, okay, Uttarakhand is today has that law enacted, and it is thanks to BJP. Now, BJP, as you all know, has for several years, several elections, treated UCC as part of its core agenda, along with, say, Ayodhya Temple or Article 370. It was there in the 2014 manifesto. It was there in the 2019 manifesto. And as it happens, because of the 2014 manifesto, in 2016, the then Law Minister referred Uniform Civil Code to the Laws Commission, saying, please examine the feasibility and come back to us with a draft of what could be Uniform Civil Code for the whole country, not just one state, right? Now, come 2018, 2 years later, what does the Law Commission do? It was headed by one Justice D.S. Chauhan, who was a former Supreme Court judge, and he gave very elaborate and very strong reasons as to why, instead of giving a report along with a draft of UCC, what he did was, he talks about the response he got in tens of thousands from across the country on the subject. And a lot of it was, he says, about triple talaq, a very controversial aspect of the Muslim personal law. And then he goes on to say, however, I do not think it is desirable nor
Desirable,
nor required,
required.
nor required at this stage to have
To have
Uniform
it.
Civil Code. And the reason he gives is that, difference is not the cause of inequality. It is discrimination which is the cause of inequality. And therefore, what needs to be done before we take up Uniform Civil Code is to examine and codify the various personal laws in such a way that all those discriminatory clauses especially against women, and I would say even against
Dalits and
Dalits.
lower caste.
You know, if any of you attended a previous session in this very hall earlier in the day, you would appreciate this point that many of our Hindu personal laws are loaded against not just women but also against lower caste. There is a confluence of patriarchy and caste discrimination. And one example of that is in the, I mean, this is not a view that is being expressed by some non-entity like me, but I'm saying this on the basis of history. There have been any number of eminent social reformers, starting with, say, in the 19th century, somebody like Phule, or in the 20th century, somebody like Periyar and others, who examined this proposition as to why should marriage, Hindu marriage, be so male dominant? Why should it be all about the woman being objectified and her responsibility or her alleged ownership being transferred from the father to the husband? And why should it have some unilateral gesture like Mangal Sutra, as if the husband is not married? Only the wife has the responsibility of showing to the world that she is committed. So why are there these unilateral gestures? Do they not smack of a patriarchy that belongs in a different time? We need to address this. So these are the kind of things that Chauhan, instead of coming with a report, he came up with what he called a consultation paper. He refers to such and many more such aspects. For lack of time, I won't go into that. But this is what led to a situation where in 2018, he gave this consultation paper, thwarting the very obvious ambition of the BJP government, as is evident from their manifesto, to come up with a bill. Then what they did was, okay, the national legislation seems to be a little hard as of now, so they left it to one of their states, that is Uttarakhand, took the initiative, and they appointed a committee or a commission headed by Justice Ranjana Prakash, another Supreme Court judge, and she is the one. I mean, this committee was appointed in 2022. She took 2 years. She traveled around the state, as evident from her report. And then she came up, she discovered to her surprise that there were lots of complaints about live-in relationship and the need to regulate. So is the reasoning that she gave in her report. And she dealt with a whole range of issues in her draft, which was submitted in February, I don't remember the date, 2nd or so, of 2024. And within days, such an important legislation, but within days, less than a week, the matter, that report is accepted in toto and presented, tabled in assembly, and within a few days it is passed, and then within a few days the president gives his consent, and it is enacted, and then after that they set up a committee of rules in which
is there.
Madam is
In
a
fact,
member,
Manoj,
and I don't know if it has come into force. Has the rules?
Ma'am, you know, since you were part of that, the entire edifice. In fact, you were the one who were the member of study, and you studied everything here in Uttarakhand and formulating the entire edifice of UCC here, which is applicable, which will be applicable in times to come. Just tell us about the processes that you went through, because Uttarakhand is a Himalayan state, and we are actually a Himalayan community. We are not as homogeneous. We are not like UP or Maharashtra, or for that matter, other large state. Here, the population size is small. So what all processes that you went through, and what do you think, as Manoj very rightly pointed out, one of the concerns which are even here in Uttarakhand are about live-in relationship. You are a VC of a university, and I'm sure a lot of youngsters are there, and they must be having their own fears. So just take us through the route, you know, which you followed while coming to these recommendations which government will, you know, enact in times to come. Just tell us about the process and what all went through.
Fears of moral policing.
Moral policing and moral compass, which I'm sure you guys must be, you know, carrying all the way. Just tell us about that.
Yogesh ji, we visited during this draft committee meeting. Most of the meetings were in Delhi, Uttarakhand Southern, and it is because Justice Ranjana Desai and Justice Pramod Kohli, he was Chief Justice of Sikkim High Court. They were from Delhi, and it was there. But later, we decided that we should visit each and every, not only district, but prominent towns and cities of Uttarakhand to have interaction, Jan Samvad jisko naam diya, and we should ask people कि what is this all about. मनोज जी ने बहुत ही विस्तार से बताया the background, the Constituent Assembly debate and the 2018 Law Commission report, and after that this committee was constituted. Now the requirement or the need of this UCC at this point of time, I feel that when it was debated in Constituent Assembly, that time some members, they blame that this Hindu, not blame, but they just put their view that Hindu Code Bill of 1955 is a communal code in the sense that you have covered 80% of
80% of the population.
of population under this codification, and rest you have left. And as he pointed out that Hansa Mehta and Rajkumari Amrit Kaur and the people were there who supported that there must be a uniform civil code. And the point is कि जब हम, when we give punishment, when we give some kind of penalty and punishment, तो उसके लिए हम एक हैं. When we talk about right, तो right में इतना discrimination कि कोई अपने personal law से covered होता है, कोई अपने कोडिफिकेशन से कवर हो रहा है, किसी को आप कोड में रख रहे हैं, किसी को नहीं रख रहे हैं. तो इसलिए आपने देखा होगा कि whenever Honorable Prime Minister cited the example of UCC Uttarakhand 2024, he says that it is a secular law. The Uniform Civil Code is the secular law covering each and everyone. So when we visited, as you said, that diversity in Uttarakhand demography, we visited the tribal areas as well. We started, in fact, from the village Mana, and then we visited Gunji, Nabi, everything from Byas and Dharma Valley of Pithoragarh. We asked people about each and everything. We were there that should we raise the marriageable age from 18 to 21 for girls or not, because we visited the PG colleges and the university campus. There the girls were studying and they were telling that this 18-year of age is too less, because when they are studying in their graduation, suddenly the parents are telling कि शादी कर लो, अब वो लोग पढ़ा लेंगे तुम्हें. तो अचानक से एक ब्राइट स्टूडेंट का करियर आधे में, स्पेशली गर्ल्स, जैसे हमने शुरू में ही कहा था कि ये एक जेंडर इक्वालिटी की ओर यूसीसी जाता है, तो उनके उसमें ये सोचा गया. लेकिन फिर ये कहीं नानक मत्ता में जब हम गए तो वहाँ पे एक दूसरा ही इसका एंगल नज़र आया एज को बढ़ाने का. And there we came to know about the poorest of the poor. And they are telling कि आप, हम बहुत से लोग गुरुद्वारे में वो marginalized section और जो poor लोग हैं वो अपनी बेटियों को जब वो खेत में जा रहे हैं तो बेटियों की security के लिए वो वहाँ रख दे रहे हैं, और वो गुरुद्वारे में भी काम कर रही हैं, दूसरे काम भी कर रही हैं, स्कूल भी जा रही हैं. तो वो कहने लगे कि आप प्लीज़ इस एज को मत छेड़िएगा. तो ये एक स्टीरियोटाइप भी है सोसाइटी का कि आपने बेटी की शादी कर ली तो यू फील कि वो सिक्योर है, वो अपने हस्बैंड के साथ सिक्योर है. जबकि जिस सिक्योरिटी की हम बात कर रहे हैं वो ज़रूरी नहीं है कि मैरिज के बाद भी आती है. उसमें पूरा एक सोसाइटी का ये एक अलग ही डिबेट है ऑब्जेक्टिफिकेशन ऑफ वुमन का. तो उनका ये कहना था कि आप इसको मत छोड़िए, क्योंकि हम किसी तरह 18 इयर्स में अपनी लड़की की शादी कर देना चाहते हैं और उस टेंशन से, वो जो उनकी सिक्योरिटी का प्रेशर है, उससे मुक्त होना चाहते हैं. तो ये एक अलग डिबेट कमेटी के आगे थी कि इसको रेकमेंड किया जाए, ना किया जाए, या इसको एज इट इज़ 18 और 21 पे छोड़ा जाए. 2,32,000 जो प्रपोजल्स थे, जो लोगों के एडवाइस थी, वो बाय हैंड, ईमेल और इस अनेक माध्यम से जो पोर्टल हमने इसके लिए लॉन्च किया था उसके माध्यम से हमको मिला. जो आपने लिव इन का जिक्र किया, ये एक ऐसा विषय था जिसमें माँ बाप ने बहुत ज़्यादा चिंता जाहिर की थी, और ये बिल्कुल आप अगर रिपोर्ट देखेंगे तो बिल्कुल पाई चार्ट के तहत उसको बनाया गया है कि कहाँ पे लोगों को ये लग रहा था कि अगर लिव इन रिलेशनशिप इज़ अ रियलिटी ऑफ टुडेज 21st century, so we should have some rules for that, some regulations must be there, though you cannot control two adults to live together. It is like their right that they choose their partner and they can live together. But at the same time, when you see the gruesome cases in live-in relationship where nobody knows who they are, जो वो एक केस था जिसमें मनाली तक पुलिस पहुंची थी, तो दोनों ने अपने को हस्बैंड और वाइफ रजिस्टर किया था अपने रजिस्टर में, और जो होटल का रजिस्टर था. ऐसे बहुत सारे केसेस कमेटी के सामने आए थे और एडवाइस भी आई थी कि कुछ आप करिए, वी डोंट नो. एट द सेम टाइम व्हेन वी इंटरेक्टेड विद द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज लाइक बाल संरक्षण आयोग और महिला आयोग और जितने भी माइनॉरिटी के आयोग, ओबीसी का आयोग, इन सारे आयोग से भी इंटरेक्शन जब कमेटी का था, रंजना देसाई शी हरसेल्फ विजिटेड देहरादून फॉर दैट पर्पस. सो व्हेन वी वर टॉकिंग टू देम, उन्होंने विमेन कमीशन का एक अलग ही एक बहुत बड़ा केसेस उन्होंने कहा कि मोर देन 70% केसेस आर कमिंग आउट ऑफ दिस लिव इन रिलेशनशिप. दे डोंट नो हु द बॉय वाज, दे डोंट नो अब क्या होगा, दे डोंट नो कि वो शादी भी नहीं कर रहा है, और ऐसे केसेस उनके यहाँ रजिस्टर्ड थे. तो उन्होंने भी अपना कंसर्न इसमें किया था कि वी आर नाइदर एनकरेजिंग. देखिए, एक लिव इन बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग सा इशू इसमें रखा गया है, जिसमें दोनों तरफ के लोग कमेटी को कोस रहे हैं, जिसमें वो एक को ये लगता है कि वी आर एनकरेजिंग इट, गिविंग इट अ लीगल स्टेटस. वी शुड नॉट गिव इट अ लीगल स्टेटस बिकॉज इट इज अगेंस्ट Indian culture and our society's norms. So we should not talk about it, whether registered, not registered, whether minor is in live-in relationship, whether the girls are being cheated, whether boys are being cheated. Just leave. ये एडल्ट का केस है, इसको आप छूइए मत. और वहीं जो दूसरी ओर हैं, जिन्हें आप प्रोग्रेसिव कहते हैं, जिनको ये लगता है कि एडल्ट्स को आप उनके हाल पे छोड़ दीजिए, उनके बीच में आप मत जाइए, वो कहते हैं कि आप हमारी प्रिवेसी पे एक ख़तरा बना दिया आपने कि दो लोग साथ रह रहे हैं, तो वाई यू आर peeping into it, why you are going to the bedrooms of people and why you are asking for that. So for me, because it was much debated and we had to take the advice of the parents and guardians and उनके ओर से जो बार बार आ रहा था, करीब 72 जनसंवाद कार्यक्रम इस कमेटी ने किए. तो when we were talking about it, तो उसको भी कंसीडर किया जा रहा था. तो मेन इसकी प्रॉब्लम थी कि आपका ये जो कमेटी है, ये आपका 100% ऑनलाइन रजिस्ट्रेशन है. योर privacy is not that you are running after some thanas and police chowkis and this and that, or standing in front of the registrar's office or sub registrar's office. It is nothing like that. आपके ऐप में जो फ़ोन है, उसके एक क्लिक में आप अपने को रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं. आपकी प्राइवेसी का पूरा ध्यान रखा गया, आपके सिक्योरिटी का ध्यान रखा गया, आपका डेटा का, क्योंकि वही लोग रूल मेकिंग कमेटी में भी एक्सपर्ट लोग हैं और गवर्नमेंट की सारी एजेंसीज इस बात पर काम कर रही हैं कि कैसे आप अपनी सेफ्टी के लिए अपने को रजिस्टर्ड करें. उसमें बॉयज़ भी हैं और गर्ल्स भी हैं. गर्ल्स की मात्रा ज़्यादा होती है क्योंकि उनके साथ कई नॉर्म्स जो अभी मनोज जी ने बताए जुड़े होते हैं स्टीरियोटाइप के और बहुत सारे ऑब्जेक्टिफिकेशन के, तो उनकी प्रॉब्लम ज़्यादा होती है उनकी सेफ्टी के लिए. एंड सपोज सम चाइल्ड इज़ बॉर्न आउट ऑफ दिस रिलेशनशिप, व्हाट्स अबाउट दैट चाइल्ड? You are just leaving like कि live in relationship का child है, तो nobody is taking that particular child and using the word illegitimate for that. जो अपने हिंदू कोड बिल और कई जगह हमने illegitimate child का जो इस्तेमाल था उसको अवॉइड किया है कमेटी ने, और ये माना है कि कोई भी बच्चा illegitimate child के रूप में नहीं आएगा.
But ma'am, wouldn't we, when we are codifying live-in, so in a way we are having a society, especially in Uttarakhand, let's not talk about the pan-India thing, where we are encouraging, morally we are encouraging couples to have a live-in relationship and have kids also, and government will take care of not just the couple but kids also. Isn't that, government is giving too much of emphasis in governing their not just life but afterlife also?
No, it's not
Because
like that.
yeah.
As I told you, ki both the sides, they are just criticizing for this particular live-in relationship. My point is, when a minor, they are stepping into this live-in relationship, the parents told us that they have full right to know about their child. Suppose देहरादून में वो कहाँ है, पेरेंट्स को पता होना चाहिए. तो जब हम एक ऐसी सोसाइटी में रह रहे हैं जहाँ पे लिव इन रिलेशनशिप इसकी एक रियलिटी बन चुका है, उस रियलिटी को आप कहिए कि ये रियलिटी नहीं है, इसको मॉरली एंकरेज नहीं किया जाना चाहिए, तो ये ख़त्म हो जाएगा. इट इज़ लाइक जो आप लिकर को बैन कर देते हैं और फिर ये मान के चलते हैं कि उस स्टेट में लिकर नहीं बिक रही होगी. ये इट इज़ लाइक दैट. अगर यू जस्ट प्रिटेंड कि वी आर morally very high society and live in relationship is not coming in that ambit, so we ignore it. What we are doing, it is, again I told you, पुलिस का interference इसमें zero के बराबर है. पुलिस को हम ये पुलिस की ओर से भी
So
था.
you are assuring that there's a
Yeah,
zero
nothing-
interference?
nothing like
As and
threatening.
when in Uttarakhand we have a UCC in full form, there will not be police excesses or police intervention or nothing like that. It will be completely private.
Yes, it's in
But
some
I
cases
just,
minimized.
I want to bring you on, in discussion at this point in time, since you have worked extensively on social and Uttarakhand. What do you think would be the likely impact on psyche of Uttarakhand, a normal average Uttarakhand society, which doesn't live, which is not confined to Dehradun alone, which we are talking about over hills? So how it will impact? What will be the implication of uniform civil code in Uttarakhand when it comes to the state?
I think very interesting discussion, and as Shrekhaji has explained, this relevance of this this civil code. Actually, whenever we talk in the academics, we usually don't want a lot of state intervention in civil life. So excessive state, no, Agamben theory. So we used to talk about that. But now we see when the society become complex and the problem become critical, then you need to form the codes and all. And so here, because we created our problem ourselves, we created problem for ourselves. Like living relationship is byproduct of the modernity, and we have created it. So when we have created it, we need to balance it. And for that, we need civil code or any code, whatever the name we can give. So that's it means there is a relevance of civil code in Uttarakhand or in any state also in future. Maybe it can be nationally implemented, and Uttarakhand is maybe the model, because people talk about Uttarakhand civil code is the model for other country, other state also. But my worry is, it's fine that it's just I'm raising the question for encouraging the discussion. My worry is it's good for middle class because it's good for urban, cosmopolitan, the kind of society. But in the margin of the margin, where there was no that kind of foundation of the universal way of living, universal, or if there is like tribals, in few tribals, like John Saris, like many others like that, those who have their own traditional customs and living relationship also, no? Even among Dalits, there are few castes. They just, without marrying, without any registration, they just opt the husband, go from here to there. Maybe they are disagree, they leave that person and go to some other person. So that kind of social flexibility they have in their culture and their tradition. What will happen for them? No, that is for. For modernity is for us, because we became modern and we created that kind of problem. But for them, it's a traditional custom. So when we are going to implement universal civil code for those community also, what will be our ways, and what will be our mode of dealing with them? Whether we are bringing them also in discourse of the middle class, cosmopolitan discourse, frame of that discourse, or bigger, or we need to think something more about them. First thing. Second thing is that it's a secular, it's right, it's a secular because it is going to give a secular deal the problem which may be matter with the secular life. But there may be some of the issues where this secular notion may be disturbed, or this notion may be, so where at those places, how we are going to tackle and respond. I'm not talking about religion, I'm not talking about religious, but just a kind of worries.
My question to ma'am was, like, as I see it as a Uttarakhand, like, there is as a journalist I gathered, like, there is a very systematic exclusion of tribals here, and the Uniform Civil Code will not be applicable to these people, as in especially Jaunsaris and tribal areas, whichever place they are living. So my worry or my observation was like, are we, excluding them from being uniform and not making any attempt to mainstream them? Or why did we do that? Like, because we should have brought them also in mainstream. And I see no reason why they should not be brought in this ambit of Uniform Civil Code.
As I said, we have visited the tribal areas and we had very good discussion, interaction with women, and I'm really very happy to share with you that the moment we reached there in their villages, the women, their answer, their interaction was so rich as compared to the urban areas, about a lot of things we discuss LGBTQ, because the young children were there, the campus, the university campus students were there. And when we were visiting like a town called Kashipur or Rudrapur or Haridwar or even Dehradun in that sense, we had very unpleasant remarks about LGBTQ and live-in relationship. They were not ready to listen it at all, as I told that if we are ignoring these kind of relationship or different sexualities, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. They exist. And that is the part of the society in 21st century. But the tribal areas people in Uttarakhand, they are, as you said, want to come to the mainstream, and they are so open and so broad-minded people. The problem is that it was committee's decision to take that note of our constitution to exclude the tribal people at this point of time. Otherwise, they don't have any problem to come to the ambit and umbrella of this UCC.
So
they are always, and the custom and uses, because we interacted with the young children, the boys and the girls of tribal, the Jaunsaris and Chakrota and Pithoragarh and everywhere. So I have to express their emotions as well. The young generation of our tribes in Uttarakhand, they don't want to be recognized or identify as children of something like their customs allowed them to have more than 2 fathers or 3 fathers, or in that sense. They are telling it is now an obsolete custom in tribal as far as Uttarakhand is concerned. And they say that they refuse absolutely even the prohibited relationship, which we have given a list in UCC. They say that even they don't want to get married in those prohibited relationship. They are the mainstream people, and most of them pray Lord Shiva, शिव की पूजा करते हैं, हिमालय में रहते हैं, और जो उनका हिंदू धर्म है, in that sense सनातनी धर्म है, वो ये कहते हैं कि हमारे जो जस्टिस है, जो गुंजी में एक शिव का मंदिर आपने देखा होगा, उन्होंने कहा जब कभी हमारी ट्राइब्स के अंदर कोई प्रॉब्लम आती है, शिव के इस मंदिर में, इस आंगन में, उसको आप अलग अलग नाम से जान सकते हैं. आप महासूत देवता कह रहे हैं, आप कहीं कुछ और कह रहे हैं, लेकिन वो शिव के ही रूप है, वहाँ पे हम जस्टिस करते हैं. तो ये जो आपने बात कही कि उनको आप इस मिनिस्ट्री में नहीं लाए, या इन दैट सेंस ये यूनिफॉर्म कहाँ है अगर हमारी ट्राइब्स को इससे एक्सक्लूड किया गया है. So I can only say that at this point of time we excluded the tribes, but as far as their suggestions, their desire to come to the under the umbrella of this UCC, it is well written, documented in the report of this draft committee कि उन्होंने क्या views रखे थे एज के बारे में, शादी के बारे में, prohibited relationship के बारे में, सारे views वहाँ पे रखे गए.
That's great. Mufti Sahab, yeah.
Constitutional exemptions were
Yes.
for northeastern states.
Northeast only.
Not
For the tribes of Uttarakhand.
So how do you blame the constitution for it?
No, it's tribal, I think.
No, it's there expressly for Nagaland.
Nagaland and Northeast. Here in Uttarakhand, we have tribal area, which is a small pocket of tribal area which is notified, where all the castes are treated as tribe. Even though they are Brahmin, they are Thakur, but they are treated tribe.
Schedule 6 areas pe wo
Yes, precisely. But in Uttarakhand, what we have done, as I see it, Uttarakhand's Uniform Civil Code gives them exemption. Tribals, which they define as tribal, which are living here in few pockets. Few portion of Garhwal, then Kumaon and Chakrota side. So these people are not been brought to mainstream. I just bring Mufti Sahab on this and this point. Mufti Sahab, आप अपना जैसे ये तो बड़ा contentious issue रहा है, not because you belong to a certain religion, but वैसे what are your personal views? क्या हमारा देश जो है has our democracy assured that maturity that it is fine or it is high time for it to have a uniform civil code for all religion, जबकि हम तो कितने diverse, कितने culturally diverse, linguistically diverse country हैं? क्या हमारा समय आ गया है हमें कनाडा, यूएस या ऑस्ट्रेलिया की तरह सिविल यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड हमारा हो जाए? आप
इस सादगी पे कौन न मर जाए ऐ खुदा, लड़ते हैं और हाथ में तलवार भी नहीं। मैं आज सबसे पहले अपनी सरकार के यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री श्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी जी और उनकी सरकार को और उस ड्राफ्ट कमेटी के तमाम मेंबरान को मैं मुबारकबाद देना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने अपनी अनथक कोशिशों से एक ड्राफ्ट तैयार किया। उसमें बड़ा रोल सबका है, मगर हमारी सुरेखा बहन जो यहाँ एज एक वाइस चांसलर के भी एक बेहतरीन अपनी मिसाल छोड़ रही हैं। और ये वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, अल खल्क़ु अयालुल्लाह, यानी सारी वसुधा, हम सारे संसार को एक परिवार मानते हैं। इस्लाम भी उसकी पुष्टि करता है। सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, मेरी कोशिश है कि ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए। और जो लोग ये कहते हैं कि कौन कहता है कि आसमान में सुराख नहीं हो सकता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यार। तो मैं फिर एक बार अपने मुख्यमंत्री जी को, उनके दूरदर्शिता को और उनके अच्छी सोच को मैं मुबारकबाद भी देता हूं और उनके लिए दुआगो भी हूं कि वो इसी तरह से साहस के साथ, जिस तरह से माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने तमाम रुकावटों को अलग करते हुए, ये आज की रुकावट उन्होंने अलग नहीं की, आज की बाधाएं नहीं की, ये लगभग 70-76 साल की बाधाओं को उन्होंने रास्ते से हटाया है। मैं उसे कोशिश करूंगा कि क्यों हटाया और क्या है। जैसे अभी हमारे मनोज जी ने जिक्र किया शाबानो केस का, मैं तो सिर्फ उन्हें टच करूंगा। 2-3 बातें आपसे मैं कहूंगा कि यक्सा सिविल कोड यूसीसी से ना इस्लाम का टकराव है, ना किसी भी रिलीजन का इससे टकराव नहीं है, बल्कि ये एक सेकुलर कानून जो सबके लिए ज़रूरी है, उसका इस्लाम बिल्कुल विरोध नहीं करता है। और मैं आज आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं कि जब हम एक ही नरो नारी की संतान है, वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, मैं कहता नहीं हूं बल्कि अपनी ज़बान से कह रहा हूं कि संसार का जो पहला ज्ञान है वो वेद है और अंतिम जो वाणी है वो कुरान है। एको ब्रह्म द्वितीय नास्ते, नेहना नास्ते किच्चन, वहदहु ला शरीक, वन गॉड विदाउट सेकंड, अव्वल अल्लाह नूर उपाय कुदरत के सब बंदे, एक ही नूर से सब जग उपजे, कौन भले कौन मंदे। निसंदेह हमारे दूध खून के रिश्ते हैं। जब मैं कुरान पढ़ता हूं तो मुझे मालूम होता है, या अय्युहन नास इन्ना खलकनाकुम मिन ज़करी व उन्सा, ऐ लोगों हमने तुम्हें एक ही नर नारी से पैदा किया है, तुम्हारे दूध और खून के रिश्ते हैं। तो यकीनी तौर से कानून भी हमारे लिए यकसा ही होने चाहिए। और हमारी जिस चीज़ के ऊपर लोगों ने वावेला मचाया है या भ्रम पैदा करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, मैं उसके बारे में थोड़ा कुछ कहना चाहूँगा। उन पॉइंट के ऊपर कि जो लोग ये कहते हैं कि जैसे यूसीसी की धारा 5 में ये इंक्लूड है कि आपके जितनी आपकी रसूमात हैं वो आपके रिलीजन के एतबार से ही होंगी, यानी आप शादी विवाह जो करेंगे उसी तरह से बिल्कुल उसमें इंक्लूड है कि निकाह, यानी मुसलमानों का जो निकाह होगा वो उसी तरह से होगा। अब इसमें कुछ लोग भ्रम पैदा कर रहे हैं, मैं इसलिए बिंदुवार ये बात कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि उन्होंने एक प्रोपेगेंडा किया कि मुसलमानों की तमाम प्रैक्टिस रोक दी जाएंगी, उनकी मजहबी रसूमात पर पाबंदी लगा दी जाएंगी। मैं आज उस ड्राफ्ट के अनुसार ये बात कह रहा हूँ कि किसी की भी मजहबी रसूमात पर किसी भी धर्म को मानने वाला हो, इसमें कोई पाबंदी या प्रतिबंधित नहीं किया गया है। निकाह उसी तरह से आपका होगा जैसे आप करते आए। नंबर 2, इसमें जो तलाक का मसला है, तलाक के लिए कहा कि आप जो है अदालत से जा करके, यानी अदालत से आपकी तलाक होगी। आप स्वयं जो आप तलाक कर देते थे और अपने घर को, अपनी फैमिली को सड़क पे ले आते थे, उसके ऊपर अंकुश लगेगा। और ये पहले से प्रचलित है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया ने अश्विनी कुमार और सीमा जी के प्रकरण में ये आदेश जारी किया और वो अभी प्रचलन में है कि कोई भी अपने आप तलाक नहीं ले सकता, वो अदालत से ही रुजू करेगा। इसका भी इस्लाम में कोई मुदाखलत इससे भी नहीं होती है। नंबर 3, मैं ये भी कहना चाहूँगा कि जिन गवाहों के, यानी जिस तरह से ये जो तलाक का मसला आता है, अनर्गल तलाक देना, तलाक कह करके, वो भी इस्लाम का अनिवार्य हिस्सा नहीं है। और आगे बढ़िए आप इसमें भी देखिए कि बहुविवाह जो प्रतिबंधित किया गया है वो किसी भी धर्म का अनिवार्य हिस्सा नहीं है, इस्लाम का भी अनिवार्य हिस्सा नहीं है। उस जमाने के अंदर जो बहुविवाह की बात आई थी तो उस जमाने के अंदर जंगें हुआ करती थी, हालात ये थे। आज उस पर गौर करने की जरूरत है। और जिस तरह से एक मर्द और औरत दोनों बराबरी के मुस्तहिक हैं, उनकी बराबरी प्रभावित होती थी। मैं समझता हूं कि मोहम्मद साहब सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का पैगाम लोगों ने पहुंचाया ही नहीं है और अपने हिसाब से उसकी व्याख्या की है। उन्होंने मर्द औरत को दोनों को बराबरी का दर्जा दिया। बल्कि उस जमाने के अंदर जब औरत को एक सिर्फ, मैं अपनी जबान से कहते हुए भी दुख होता है कि एक इस्तेमाल करने की चीज समझी जाता था और उन्हें सिर्फ ये था कि इस्तेमाल किया और उन्हें छोड़ दिया। और आज भी उसकी मिसालें हमें सड़कों पे बहुत सारी नजर आती हैं। उसमें कमी आई है, इस गवर्नमेंट के अंदर ज़्यादा कमी आई है, मैं ये बात कह सकता हूँ। और देखिए हमारी सुरेखा बहन जैसी आज हमारे बेहतरीन यूनिवर्सिटी को जैसे पुरुषों ने चलाया है, उससे ज़्यादा अच्छा चला रही है। जहाँ जहाँ भी, मैं यही नहीं, अलीगढ़ मुस्लिम यूनिवर्सिटी की भी मैं बात करूँ, मैं वहाँ एजुकेशन बोर्ड में हूँ, तो वहाँ की हमारी वाइस चांसलर पहली बार आई, जब से वो अब तक वाइस चांसलर बनी है, बहुत सुचारू तौर से, रूप से यूनिवर्सिटी को चला रही हैं। तो ऐसा नहीं कि पुरुष ही ये काम कर सकते हैं। तो मैं आपको आगे ये बात कहना चाहूँगा कि जैसे बहुविवाह के बारे में मैंने कहा कि इसमें ये इस्लाम का अनिवार्य हिस्सा नहीं। ऐसे विरासत की बात पे आप आइए। विरासत पहले ही से इस्लाम के अंदर 1/2 की हिस्सेदारी थी। अब उसे अगर आधे की हो जाए तो इसमें गुनाह क्या है? आपको भाई कम ना करिए, ज़्यादा तो किया जा सकता है। क्यों साहब? ज़्यादा तो किया जा सकता है। हाँ जी, अच्छा मैं बस ये पूरा, इसी तरह से जो गोद लेने वाला, जो उसमें एक प्रावधान है कि सिर्फ जो है उसमें जो मुस्लिम औरतों को भी ये मौका मिलेगा कि वो एडॉप्ट कर सकती हैं और बच्चे को गोद ले सकती हैं, उन्हें भी कानूनी हक मिलेगा। क्योंकि जाहिर बात है कि जिनके बच्चे नहीं होते हैं और वो ऐसा या किसी गरीब की परवरिश करना चाहते हैं, उनकी भी रास्ता खुलेगा। तो ये भी कोई गुनाह की बात नहीं है और इस्लाम में इसकी भी कोई ऐसा कोई इसके ऊपर वो नहीं है, कोई कहे कि किसी की आप परवरिश ना करें और उसे आप बेटे का दर्जा ना दें। ये भी मतलब इससे भी कोई प्रभाव नहीं पड़ता है। इसी तरह से जो सामाजिक कुप्रथाएं हैं, जैसे हलाला है, इसका इस्लाम से कोई ताल्लुक नहीं था। ये बिल्कुल एक ऐसी प्रथा थी कि जो महिलाओं को, औरतों को अपमानित करती थी। उनके इस्लाम में इसकी कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है। इसकी गुंजाइश ये थी कि अगर किसी का शौहर, किसी का पति, उसने तलाक दे दिया और उसने फिर किसी और से अपना विवाह कर लिया, निकाह कर लिया, अगर वो फौत हो जाए यानी उसकी डेथ हो जाए या वो छोड़ दे, तो आपको एक गुंजाइश थी कि आप अपने साबिका यानी पुराने पति के साथ आप फिर से विवाह कर सकती हैं। इन्होंने उस कुप्रथा को, उसका इतना नाजायज फायदा उठाया कि तलाक दी और तलाक के बाद फिर दूसरे से उसका निकाह कराया और फिर उसे हलाला जैसी कुप्रथा कहकर कि इसका इस्लाम से कोई ताल्लुक का नहीं है। तो इसलिए मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि इसी तरह से जो विरासत लोग नहीं लिख पाते थे, अपनी विरासत में वसीयत नहीं लिख सकते थे, तो वसीयत से उसकी वजह से महरूम हो जाते थे। अब वो अपने उस हिस्से को पा सकेंगे। मेरे सामने ऐसी बहुत सारी ऐसी मिसालें हैं कि जिन्होंने अपने वारिसीन को उस विरासत में वसीयत नहीं की तो वो उस विरासत से महरूम रह गए। अब वो उनकी महरूमी भी ख़त्म हो जाएगी। इससे समाज सशक्त बनेगा और इससे भाईचारा भी मजबूत होगा और मुसलमानों के अंदर जो कुप्रथाएं हैं उस पर अंकुश लगेगा। इसलिए मैं ये बात कहना चाहता हूं कि आज की सरकार और 11 साल पहले अगर हम देखते हैं तो इस देश के अंदर एक ऐसी सशक्त सरकार रही है कि ये जिसने 60 साल तक सरकार चलाई मगर मुसलमानों को मुख्य धारा से काटा और उन्हें वोट बैंक बनाया। आज मैं इसमें सिर्फ एक बात कहना चाहूँगा, सिर्फ एक चीज़ का एक मैसेज देना चाहता हूँ कि उत्तराखंड मदरसे माननीय मुख्यमंत्री श्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी जी के नेतृत्व में हमने उन मदरसों के अंदर NCERT पढ़ाया और उन बच्चों ने 96% रिजल्ट दिया, पास हुए। और यही नहीं, उन बच्चों ने हम उनके अभिभावकों से, उनके टीचर से, स्वयं बच्चों से बात करके हमने एक ऑप्शन रखा कि हम संस्कृत भी उन्हें ऑप्शन के तौर से देंगे, जिससे एक दोनों प्राचीन ज़बानें एक दूसरे की पूरक हैं। जब उन्हें दोनों पढ़ेंगे तो मैं समझता हूं कि हमारी दूरियां कम होंगी। इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं कि सेकुलर कानून और सेकुलर UCC इसकी ज़रूरत थी। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रेरणा से हमारी सरकार, उत्तराखंड की सरकार ने इस पर पहल की है। मैं तमाम उत्तराखंड के जनता की जानिब से, पब्लिक की जानिब से, अपने तमाम लोगों की जानिब से मैं आभार भी व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं सरकार का और सरकार के माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का कि उन्होंने साहस की है। और मुझे आशा है, उम्मीद है कि ये ड्राफ्ट हमारा पूरे देश के अंदर एक मॉडल के तौर से ये इस्तेमाल होगा और पूरा देश इसका अनुसरण करेगा, ऐसा मैं सोचता हूं।
Thank you, Mufti Sahib. Manoj, I want to come back to you on this. As we know that, if it goes pan-India, I will just come back to the same question. Has our country or our democracy has become matured enough to have a uniform civil code which will weed out all the problems that we have, whether of religion, caste, language? You think that this one law will work like elixir and remove all the problems that we have when it comes to social problems? You think so?
I do believe that the concerns expressed by Law Commission under Justice Chauhan do need to be examined carefully because the suggestion he was making was eminently reasonable, which is that there are lots of discriminatory provisions in each of the personal laws. They need to be rectified, and then organically you move towards a uniform civil code, because the priority is not uniformity as much as equality, and the cause for equality is not difference but discrimination. So one of the discriminatory provisions that came up, for instance, in the context of triple talaq, I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that triple talaq was something that several Muslim countries had also outlawed. But for some strange reason, it was persistent in our country, and it was long overdue when the Supreme Court struck it down. But then when it was followed by a law by the central government, which criminalized and penalized those who still persist with that practice, what it effectively meant was, if triple talaq is no more valid, which means that the marriage is still persisting, so what that husband would be guilty of doing is deserting his wife. So if a Hindu deserts his wife, all that happens to that Hindu is that he would have created a ground for the wife to seek divorce. It's a ground for divorce, right? But in the case of Muslims, it would become a penal offense. So if a Muslim husband deserts, he will be prosecuted and jailed. But if a Hindu husband deserts, then all he will be creating is a ground for divorce for his wife. So there is a discrimination. So these kind of nuances need to be addressed. This is what Justice Chauhan meant when he said, look, these things have to be weeded out before you can think of uniform civil code, which will be acceptable to all sections voluntarily.
Definitely. Right? I'm really thankful to you and Mufti Sahib and ma'am for giving us insight, and Badri as well, giving us insight on UCC. Subject is such that we can go ad nausea and discuss it, at least because it's one of the subjects which I have written extensively over. And I hope that, all the viewers here, as in all of our audience might have, enjoyed it. Any questions, if at all, they can have with our eminent panel separately, because we have run out of time. And thank you again, ma'am, to you and Manoj sir and Mufti sir. But I'm really very thankful, and thankful to Mr. Chopra also, who I always say he needs no introduction because he's so eminent.
I must excuse myself at this point because I'm in another session
it's okay.
which I'm
Sure.
chairing just now, so I'll have to leave. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We thank the panel for the enriching discussion and the members of the audience for being active listeners.
चोपड़ा जी के लिए कहना
Now,
चाहता
I
था।
would like to call WOW volunteers to present author kit to the panel. For the next session in Shabdavali Hall, we have Rash Bihari Bose, The Legend of Doom. The session will commence shortly. Please stay with us.